Israel and Hamas reached a ceasefire and hostage deal today. It is set for implementation this Sunday with a hostage exchange coming, a hard-fought development that has set off celebrations on both sides, as you can see here. The negotiators reaching and announcing this deal. In Israel, the cabinet must still ratify it. The hostage exchange will involve 33 Israeli hostages in Gaza, and it will be in exchange for Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. From the American View, we can report tonight the deal contains a scheduled release of American hostages. Today, President Biden touted this foreign policy breakthrough. Here's some of what he said as the news came out today.
We begin with major breaking news out of the Middle East, where we can now report that negotiators in Qatar have reached a Gaza ceasefire deal.
You know, there was no other way for this war to end than with a hostage deal.
The implementation depends upon the parties as well as the goodwill of the parties.
I'm deeply satisfied this day has finally come, for the sake of the people of Israel and the families waiting in agony.
Extraordinary news breaking out of the Middle East.
And for the sake of the innocent people in Gaza who suffered unimaginable devastation because of the war.
President Biden recounting those high costs in the region, where he has repeatedly put a focus of his administration and his personal diplomacy. The other voice that you just heard there was actually Qatar's leader discussing the party's goodwill to follow through. He helped broker this deal in Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu has not yet commented. His administration says it is eyeing these final details that are being still hammered out. Hamas touts the deal as progress for Gaza, which has been reeling from the bombing and the counterattacks. Over 40,000 have died there since Hamas launched the October 7th attack, taking the original roughly 250 hostages, innocent individuals taken from Israel. 1,200 people also killed in Israel in that ensuing 15 months of fighting. Other observers in the region see the ceasefire as a step towards a possible, more durable truce. This is major news in the Middle East being watched around the world tonight. And we are joined by Ambassador Dennis Ross. He was a special envoy in Oslo, where he dealt with both sides, Israel and the PLO, and reaching a deal there, advising the president. You can see he served as a peace negotiator in the Clinton administration, as well as under the Bush administration as a diplomat at state. He also, we should note, worked as a special assistant to the Obama administration. He has been in and around many of the challenges that beset this region for such a long time. We're also joined by someone who also served in the Clinton administration, David Rothkopf, a diplomat who's authored several books, including Running the World. Welcome to both of you. Ambassador Ross, what is in the deal? How did it happen and why now?
Well, the deal is basically a deal that was presented initially by the Israelis in May to President Biden, who embraced it, presented it as a framework. It has three basic phases to what would be a hostage release. You have the first phase in which you would have about 33 Israeli hostages released. There'd be a number of Palestinian prisoners who would also be released by the Israelis. Only in the second phase would you actually bring what is a temporary ceasefire and turn it into a permanent ceasefire where the rest of the hostages would be released and a large number of Palestinian prisoners would be released. That framework has been available essentially since the end of May. So you might ask the question, as you did, why now? Mm-hmm. And I would say there was a Trump effect. The Trump effect was on Bibi in the sense that Bibi was not going to say no to Trump, fears the cost of saying no to Trump. There was a Trump effect also, I think, on Qatar and Egypt. They want to please President Trump, and that means they wanted to show how they could do things that would benefit or be responsive to what it is he wants.
Yeah, I'm going to let you continue, but we have some of the reporting on what you're saying, so I want to kind of match it up for viewers. Again, there's a major truce today. And so the Times says what you say, Ambassador, that this was broadly similar to a three-phase framework publicized by President Biden in May with the 6-week ceasefire. They've reviewed even a copy of the agreement as this was all unfolding today. The same report notes that Donald Trump's threats that all hell would break loose if no deal was reached before his inauguration might have helped motivate Hamas's leadership. And I want to play a little bit more from the president today to the ambassador's point.
I'd also note this deal was developed and negotiated under my administration, but its terms will be implemented, for the most part, by the next administration. In these past few days, we've been speaking as one team. I told my team to coordinate closely with the incoming team to make sure we're all speaking with the same voice, because that's what American presidents do.
Ambassador Haas.
Look, I think the key here is that you actually have the Trump administration coming in committed to the deal that was negotiated by the Biden administration. This is a 100-page document. So the Trump administration didn't negotiate that document, but they were critical. Steve Witkoff, who is the new negotiator for President Trump, he flew directly from Qatar, from Doha to Jerusalem on Saturday, and from every report coming out of Israel, effectively told Prime Minister Netanyahu, you can't say no to this. Up until now, I think the political price of saying that he was going to end the war was too high for Prime Minister Netanyahu. He's still not saying that, by the way.
Sure.
What he'll be saying over the next couple of days is, we will only determine if the war ends if all of our needs are met, and we'll be negotiating that basically in the second phase. That negotiation starts on day 16 of phase one.
Let me bring Dave. Let me bring David. I know you're 100-page deal, and you speak in multi-pronged points, which we appreciate you for. But David is patiently standing by. So before we go further into phase two, your thoughts on all the above, Dave the Roth Cop.
Well, I think Dennis has summarized it well, of course. He talks about a Trump effect. I think we should also talk about the Netanyahu effect. Netanyahu has had many, many months in which he could have accepted this deal.
Right.
Prior to September, late summer, he couldn't for political reasons. He was afraid that the right would leave his coalition. That changed when a small party joined the coalition, and so he had a little bit more wiggle room. But even then, he has waited to see the outcome of the election. I think part of this has to do with his desire to help Trump and to have Trump help him. But, you know, as we get into the nitty-gritty of the deal, I think the important thing to remember is 2 million people in Gaza, 40 to 70,000 people dead, many, many people in desperate suffering, and the fact that even in this first phase of the deal, in which 600 truckloads of humanitarian aid are supposed to make it through to those people, it's unclear that they will. It's unclear that the ceasefire will hold. And phase two of the ceasefire contains some very, very difficult provisions, ultimately getting us to the point that there is a new Hamas leadership. And we're a long, long way for that. So I think we should be thankful for the respite. We should be thankful for the hope. We should be thankful that ultimately everybody came around to this deal, but we should see it for what it is, which is just a first step and nothing complete.